So we will start off from where we left yesterday. So yesterday हमने देखा कि majorly the rules that we get on tech recruitment falls into either hardware, software or OS. So अभी we will deep dive into software. ठीक है? So before going to software, I just wanted to share my screen and probably I will just present you a slide. So a slide है ना? This is very important for a recruitment, specifically when you want to go into a tech recruitment side of it. So this is nothing but, this is basically a 5-tier architecture. So when I say 5-tier architecture, it's nothing but any software that you want to develop or any software that you are currently using, be it your mobile app or be it your website that you're using it, वो software को ये architecture होगा. So there will be user interface block in which there is a UI layer and a UI generation layer. There will be business logic, which is basically the processing unit of the software. And there will be a data block, which basically has database access layer and the database around. So, ये पांच layers would be there for any software that you use. Probably, if suppose you have a desktop application, it might be in your desktop itself. Like for example, if it is a Word or a Microsoft PPT, then you have everything in your desktop itself. Or if you're using a SaaS product or if you're using a website, then this layers would be across the world, right? In the cloud, across the world. So, but whatever it is, these three things would be there. These 5 things would be there for sure for any software that you're going to use. Okay, so this is very important. The reason why it is important is, इसमें you will be able to understand and you will be able to map a particular JD and a particular resume on which layer this is going to fall. So, इसलिए it's important for a recruiter to understand this 5 layers. Okay, so now in this 5 layers, our episode, the forthgoing episodes is going to be into deep dive into each and every layer, and we'll go it with one by one. Okay. So, Abhi, to start off with, let me again share my screen. To start off with, we are going to discuss on the UI layer. So, UI layer per basically the first thing how we start off in UI is basically the designers. We call them UI designers. Or we call them the UX designer. ठीक है?
Basically, this is a visible part of people. ये लोगों को जो दिखता है, ये उसके बारे में हम लोग बात करने वाले हैं.
Correct. So, see again, user interface is nothing but interface क्या है? Like the way by which you are going to interact with the software. That is user interface. So, be it a website, be it an app, but the screen via which you basically are talking to this particular software, by which you are going to give command to the particular software. That is what user interface is. Basically, interface that makes you to interact with the software. So now, user interface के लिए, there is a first starting point is basically designers who basically design this user interface. Now, designers is very important for a software because, for example, let's take आप एक you're downloading an app or you're going for a website. Let's consider you're going for a banking website and you're trying to get some information to apply for a new debit card for in that website, but you're not able to find it out easily. आपको बहुत complications हो रहा है. It's very complex to basically get the details that you want to get it out. That means your user experience is not so great there. So you would not go back to that particular website again. Or say, for example, you download an app and उसका color अच्छा नहीं है, उसका the way the color or the feel that is irritating to you. Then you would not use the app again. You would uninstall it and never go back to it again. This makes the user not to stick with that application, right? So the stickiness को बढ़ाने के लिए, as well as onboarding journey for a user to come and start off very easily, this user interface is very, very important because this is the first phase for the software or product, and the customer likes the product through this user interface. That's why this user interface is very important. User interface per majorly the rules falls into 2 categories. The first category is UI designers. So UI designers per there will be people like graphic designers, visual designers kind of people. But UI designers are people who basically take care of the look and feel of that particular layout. Like for example, people who would take care of 2 or 3 pages. The color of the pages, how does the color and the font of the particular page resonates to the company's brand. How is it easy for you to look into that website as well as get the content that you want to get in? How does an information from one page to other page flows, and how easy it is for this consumer to basically grab that or utilize that particular content that is available. So ये look and feel of the particular layout or the particular products को focus करने वाला बंदा UI designer है. So these are the people who would basically typically create your Figma design, typically create the PSD files, work with product managers and techies to basically understand like this is what we are trying to develop, and then move it across to the production and move it across to development. So this is UI designers. The second part of the people or the second kind of role that comes into this is basically UX designers. We call them user experience researchers and designers. So now these are the people who basically understand the product and understand how this product is going to work in the market. So these are people who basically directly face the market. They do multiple interviews of the users. They try to understand user stories. They try to understand how well this software would or the product would work very well with the market, and also understand the pain points on why there is a drop off. Like for example, say let's consider Make My Trip, right? So you're going to Make My Trip, you're searching for flight, and you're going to the payment page, but then payment page is very complicated. You're not able to do things across, the user field is not coming in, so you might drop off a Make My Trip and go to some other website to book your flight, which becomes a typical potential loss for Make My Trip. So these people, these user experience people who try to understand these interviews, they will try to understand user stories, kya ho raha hai, why there is a drop off in the funnel, and how can I optimize this particular flow to increase the funnel so that potentially this brand revenue and everything grows across. So these are the people who directly work with the market, directly work with the customers, do the interviews. They will focus more on user journeys, test usability, and get it out. Whereas UI designers are purely people who work on colors, typography, button, icon, and how this website would or the page would talk about the brand element for you. So this is the difference between these two people. So you can understand this via seeing a profile, via seeing how or what is the kind of responsibility that the person has taken care of. Because more or less the tools they will be using through tools like Figma, Photoshop, wireframe. They will be also trying to work it out around prototyping the product. So they will be this jargons in the resume will be the same, but the responsibilities will be varied. So that is what you need to look into to identify whether it's a UI designer or a UX designer. And typically, as a tech recruiter, if you're looking into it, you would see people who are from very good colleges. Like again, in India, there are a lot of good colleges which producers has a history of producing a strong designers. NID is one of the premium thing. It has campuses around Ahmedabad, Bangalore. And also we have design courses which is done from IIT Mumbai as well as IIT Guwahati. And we also have a Pearl Academy. Also we have MIT from Pune. So these are some premium institutes which basically has a history of producing great talents around design. So this is again some of the keywords that you can look into to work it out as a tech recruiter to find out the right person.
To summarize so far, आपने जो बोला कि there are two type of the basically if UI focus में UI अलग होता है, UX अलग होता है. UI is very similar to look and feel और color, typography, कितना beautification कर सकते हैं वो वाले के बारे में है. UX is more about the navigation part of it. क्लिक करने पे कितनी simple तरीके से यूजर वो काम कर पा रहा है जिस चीज के लिए जिस इंटेंट से.
So UX is more towards the market side of it. Like how when I say UI designer is more of how this product looks and how it translates or resonates the brand in the market. The UX are people who would more worry about how this product would perform with the market, with the user. So UI designer is more towards internal stakeholders, product managers and techies and create this with web developers. UX stakeholders also includes the market, the direct consumers. So these are the people who put themselves on the shoes, do interviews with the consumers. There are also ways by which they evaluate the look and feel of the website. There are places where they understand your pupil movement and see like how do you understand this?
Sorry. So I think I get the point like UI UX में क्या difference है. But is there any preference about कौन सा technology होना चाहिए? कौन सा टूल्स इम्पॉर्टेंट है? फिग्मा ज़्यादा अच्छा है या एडोब का टूल ज़्यादा अच्छा है और सम अदर टूल्स आर अवेलेबल? तो इनका प्रायोरिटी कैसे सेट होता है? हाउ वी गेट टू नो कि किस में जिसने काम किया होगा वो एक अच्छा यूआई डिजाइनर है, या कौन सी टेक्नोलॉजी जिसको आती है वो एक अच्छा यूएक्स डिजाइनर है?
Got it. So see, one of the best thing about this role is collector. This is one of the engineering role which doesn't need coding language. Coding is good to have here. Like there will be designers who understand HTML code, a bit of a JavaScript wala part, which is good to have. But as a skill set, as a role, this is not mandatory for them. But for them, they need to understand more about how you would use the design tools in place. Like again, for a designer, you have Figma, you have Photoshop, Dreamweaver kind of tools which they use it. Depending upon that, the roles that they can, like for example, a graphic designer or a visual designer more focuses towards getting out things from PSTs and Photoshop. Whereas a product UI designer would focus more on the Figma side of it. So that depends upon the role.
सो ये आई थिंक टूल एक पार्ट हो गया जो आपने बताया, पर टूल के साथ साथ में क्रिएटिविटी भी एक इम्पॉर्टेंट रोल है।
Correct.
आप डिटेल को कितने अच्छे तरीके से प्रोसेस कर पा रहे हो और उसको कितने सिंप्लीफाई होके यूज़र को कम्युनिकेट कर पा रहे हो। तो बेसिकली यूआई डिजाइनर और ये जो आपने बताया कि फोटोशॉप और ये सब के लिए जो मार्केटिंग क्रिएटिविटी
Okay, so basically, designers are considered to be creative people.
Okay.
So they need to be very creative. They need to basically bring in new ideas and brainstorm new ideas, and that is the major role for them. And that's how you bring in new ways by which you can understand how this look and feel can be reported. UX people are considered to be more focused towards market, and for them, it's very important for them to be creative at the same time to understand how this creativity will translate to product of performance and product of metrics movement, needed movement on the market. So, where it's more towards market research and user stories. So that's the major difference between two. Whereas tools take or the create.
कौन सी सॉफ्ट स्किल हैं जो हम देखते हैं, कौन सा टेक्निकल स्किल्स हैं जो देखते हैं?
See, in UI side of it, it's like in both the side of it, when a company, sometimes when they are hiring for, they would look into more of a domain expertise there, specifically at the higher level. Because say, for example, if suppose the B2B kind of a domain, the way the screens interact, the way the information flows is entirely different to a B2C side of it. And the way the end consumer would react would be entirely different from a B2B and a B2C. So you need to understand the audience again here, right? So these designers need to understand how this user is going to interact with them. So at the senior level, they would definitely look into domain side of it, specifically focusing towards a B2B and a B2C side of it. So that is important for a recruiter to also understand what kind of a person would better fit for the particular role.
Is there any way, looking at resume, we can understand ki, like, who is the right candidate, who is not the right candidate?
So it depends upon the jury again. So in case that's why I want to tell you the difference between UX and UI, because this is very vague in the market and people use this designation in different ways. But to exactly differentiate this designation, you need to understand what is the role that a person is playing in. So if a Kajeri is looking for a UX guy and you are just looking into the tool, which is very similar to both the roles, and you just take a resume of a UI designer and put him across to a UX role, he will not clear, because the responsibilities would not be more towards the market side of it, the research side of it. So you need to understand.
को हायर करते हैं UI UX को, या एक ही पर्सन के अंदर भी ये दोनों चीजें पॉसिबल है?
दोनों से ओवरलैपिंग है दोनों चीज पर. Typically people start off as UI and then they move towards UX market. There are also people from UX, they move to product managers. So that because they understand the market, they understand the growth perspective, the funnel perspective, the customer story perspective, and then they move to a product management sort of a role also. So ये overlapping, ये movement है. But when you're looking for this person has to have been done that, and that is what you need to look into this.
So is there any kind of certification also there? और अगर रिजेक्शन देखना हो कि लाइक कौन से कैंडिडेट हैं जो कि सही फिट नहीं है यूआई या यूएक्स के, तो इज देयर एनी वे स्क्रीनिंग थ्रू द रिज्यूमे वी कैन गेट टू नो कि ये पर्सन इतना क्वालिफाइड नहीं है, या कुछ ऐसे कीवर्ड्स हैं या कोई ऐसा तरीका है जिससे स्क्रीनिंग करने में हमको आसानी हो और पता चले कि हाँ हमें इस कैंडिडेट को नहीं हायर करना चाहिए?
हाँ, so first in UX and UI का differentiation a person should know, and what is JD, they have to search for the right candidate. Now, say for example, if suppose you're looking for a UI designer, right? So as I told, domain plays a very vital role here in this part of it. Second, always look for the portfolio of the particular candidate.
तो डोमेन का
So
ये
आपको
बताना चाहते हो कि अगर फिनटेक के लिए हम किसी इंजीनियर्स को हायर कर रहे हैं, डिज़ाइन इंजीनियर को हायर कर रहे हैं, तो यूजुअली ऐसे लोग जिन्होंने पहले उसी इंडस्ट्री में काम किया हुआ हो, या अगर मेक माई ट्रिप जैसा मेरा कोई प्रोडक्ट है और मैं लोगों को टिकटिंग सॉल्यूशंस प्रोवाइड करता हूँ, तो मुझे उसी इंडस्ट्री के लोगों को हायर करना चाहिए, क्योंकि उन्हें उस इंडस्ट्री का निटी-ग्रिटी पता होगा, उनको पता होगा कि पास्ट प्रोडक्ट को बनाने में किस टाइप का प्रॉब्लम आता है,
Correct.
कैसे सॉल्व करना चाहिए।
Correct. So see, again, when it comes to domain, right? So I would rather say it's more towards the B2B and B2C side of it rather than a particular fintech or a edutech or a technology vertical side of it. The reason being, like fintech maybe, you have to get a product. Like for example, if suppose you are creating a banking product, it's more towards the a customer who is going to utilize your bank, right? But when it comes to a product like say a Bitcoin kind of a product, right? It's more towards the end consumer who can be anywhere, anybody, not even your own user. So what a feel would be a day different. So somewhere आपको onboarding भी होना चाहिए, where a person should know कि like no, it's easy for me to onboard with this user वाला feel. So वो B2C वाला feel पर आएगा.
So let's say somebody we are trying to interview, the person has been working previously in a B2B company, but now the kind of product I am making is a B2C. So do you think like this candidate is not gonna be the ideal fit for us, or I should be keep looking for people who previously worked in a B2C domain?
Ideal fit would be somebody who has worked on B2C.
Okay.
But again, learnability be here, right? So if a person is good and the person has a good learning curve, probably we can take a call. But ideally speaking, a B2C candidate, because he would understand the various the end corner cases of a particular end user, right? So that would ideally fit for a B2C or a candidate.
Makes sense. Oh, got the point. Pretty nice.
Cool. So this is what we will do deep dive today. Like the UI and UX is what you look into. So major roles that you would see around this would be graphic designers, visual designers, UI designers, UX designers. So this roles per you need to understand exactly what they are looking into, which domain they are looking into, and then is it going to be a designer or a UX researcher. There are rules, there are requirements that you might get with specification on a very high standard designer. For that, it's better for also go to the right pedigree to get the right person.
किसी कंपनी में किस स्टेज की कंपनी में कितने सारे लोग इस रोल के लिए रहते हैं? Let's say if I have a startup which is till series A kind of company, तो कितने डिजाइनर, कितना UI UX डिजाइनर यूजुअली क्या स्ट्रक्चर होता है टीम का?
Okay. So, see, generally speaking, what happens is like the first when a company starts off or any idea is there and they want to implement that idea, they would initially focus on the business logic side of it. So, I give you the 5 layers of it, right? The 5 layers of business logic is the logic where the major idea of the particular product is going to work on. So, they will focus on that. Then they will focus on the user field once it starts to hitting the end consumer. So that's where the UI wala part comes into picture. But the first would be front-end engineering, which would be the next topic that we're going to talk about in the next episode. So front-end engineering they start, and then usko enhance karne ke liye, they will bring in the UI designer. And once it goes to the market and once it scales across, and they want to understand exactly kya ho raha hai markets where, they will bring in UX system. So that's how they will go. At the back end also. Like for example, once you have a business logic, and you need to store something in the database, they will have a database person, they will database and everything will be there. But then once you have more data, and once you need to take informed decisions based on the data, then they will jump into roles like data engineering, data science, where you have data and you want to basically emphasize and capitalize on the data that you have gotten, and so that you can make informed decisions on that as well as take futuristic decisions based on the data. So that's where they jump into data engineering, data science side of it. So, but a 5 layer है ना, इसमें business logic is the first thing that they start off with, and then they move the other side of it, so that the core platform first becomes independent.
Got it. Oh, nice. So, but usually whenever we were working in engineer of time, तो basically हम लोग तो design से start करते थे, क्योंकि function client को पता होता था, but to showcase how the product is gonna look like, how we were initially creating a wireframe and the design. तो ये क्या अलग-अलग टाइप की कंपनीज में अलग-अलग तरीके से फंक्शन होता है क्या?
It moves ahead. Like say for example, what I told you was like majorly say for example, there is somebody with an idea and they want to implement that idea, right? So they would implement the idea and understand clear business ऐसा काम करता है. This idea can solve, like for example, I want to solve an idea in the market. So इसके लिए I want to create a product. So they will create this product in this way. And after creating it, and they will figure out कि like no, okay, इस idea से ये काम ये कर सकते हैं, this technology से ये code कर this futuristic features and implementation कर I'll be able to solve this particular idea. That's when they will put across to the users to use it across so that it can solve the problem that a user is facing. And that's when this UI and things comes in. The other way around is like no, आपके पास idea है, आपको basically understand करना है कि this idea how will it would look on the screen or for the users. So we will go with the design, and then we go to the backend team saying like अभी ये design है, ये future, ये functionality आप कर रहे हो, वो भी हो सकता है. Generally speaking, it starts with business के लिए तो idea है, idea को solve करने के लिए they started off the business.
Get the point. Majorly जितने भी funded companies आते हैं वो उनके पास core backend खुद का रहता है, तो I think they one of the co-founder start the business logic जैसा आप बता रहे हैं, क्योंकि वो उनका important part है, तो वो उस पे already core team compatibility build करते हैं. Slowly once they start seeing some early stage users जो कि product को use कर रहे हैं, उनके feedback के basis पे वो अपने product का एक beautification plan करते हैं and they give it a right structure. So I think that's important when your product is scaling up and you are trying to see good users, and I am sure like B2B B2C के हिसाब से भी ये काफी vary करता होगा.
Correct. And this also makes it more important when you see customer funnel coming out. So when you have a funnel in place and when you see like, there are drop-off happening, there is onboarding में कुछ ratios is going down, sickness per ratios is going down. So this user experience of the people who basically understands you or right, and then solve it across to make sure product for the metric moves.
Understood. और इनके लिए अगर किसी को कोई टेस्ट देके असेस करना हो कि कोई अच्छा UI डिजाइनर है या UX डिजाइनर है, तो यूजली कैसे हमें चेक करना चाहिए?
So basically, first and foremost, आपको as a recruiter, you need to check on the portfolio side of it. One, the portfolio would talk about the previous works that they have done, right? At the same time, this will also give you more emphasis on the kind of the products or the project that he has worked on. So that can be roles where you will be looking to more mobile specific user experience side of it. And the kind of portfolio that they speak would speak volume about the mobile experience they bring on the table. So you need to focus on that portfolio first. And then after shortlisting the candidates, have a chat with them, try to understand how they have went to do. Like for example, if it is user experience, what is that kind of needing movements that he has done with the user stories and understanding user, and how did he go about it? What is the methodology by which he went about it? So this would also give you more emphasis like how much he is into the end consumer, to understand the end consumer, how much he has impacted the product to move things across. So basis this, you will be able to analyze whether he's a right fit and move into the source.